Hey, we're live. Make sure the mic is working. Let me just double check. Make sure that it actually started. It says it started on here. Four times. So, hey, Julian. I'm gonna have to go and do cleanup when we get done here. Now on my page it shows four different versions of this. I did not see that. But what we're talking about today is something that just happened over the weekend. Um, so, and I think this is sound is muffled. Is that better? This just happened over the weekend. Um, Giorgia Maloney, Prime Minister of Italy. You know, this whole deal with Ukraine joining NATO, same. Hmm. Let's see if the earpods will work. I couldn't get the earpods to work a bit ago. Is that better? So Georgia Maloney has threw a big wrench in Ukraine's bid to join NATO. So she said that just like Germany, when they were West Germany, was given Article 5 protections from NATO, they're not going to get in NATO. What Georgia Maloney offered was the Article 5 protections of NATO without them joining NATO. And she said, but where she threw a wrench in Ukraine's works is she said they would have to cease all fighting. They would have to agree to current territorial boundaries, and they would have to sign an agreement that they would never take up arms against Russia again. And she said that would give them the protections of NATO without them being a member of NATO, just like Western Germany got the protections of NATO without being a member. Yeah, this is not going to end well. I just have really bad feelings about it. And you have the idiot prime ministers, I call them, Starmer and Macron Starmer pledged 30,000 troops to Ukraine. He said, we are going to give them planes and we are going to give them the troops to back up. We are putting 30,000 boots on the ground. That's just plain stupid. I watched this one guy that's from the UK, and he said, okay, he said, the Starmer's problem is that the UK has been demilitarized. Yeah, they're acting like total children. Um, he said Starmer's problem is that the UK is basically demilitarized. They've cut their army down, they've cut their navy down, and he said now you're talking about 30,000 troops. Yeah, Candace will win. I like Candace. But this is all utter madness. Complete utter madness. Complete and utter madness. Because the UK doesn't have 30,000 troops that they could send to back up airplanes. They would have to, this guy said they would have to start conscription, which is like what they're doing in Ukraine. They see a young man on the street, a van drives up, and They basically kidnap his ass. Hold on. Conscription is kind of like a draft, military draft, but they don't do it like we do it, where you sign up and your number could get called. Blah. No, they just drive down the street and they see some young man and they snatch him off the street. That's the way Russia does it. That's the way Ukraine is doing it, and they call it conscription. Yes, they're yanking people off the streets. Just like last week, there was a video on X. This young man was at the farmer's market, and they pulled up, and he said, "I can't go. I have a young child that's home alone." They grabbed him and threw him in the van and took off with him. They showed another video on X where this guy was out walking his dog, and the van pulled up, opened the door. They run out and grabbed the guy, left the guy's dog run the neighborhood. Yeah, there's videos on X about them yanking people off the street. Who's money laundering? There's a bunch of money laundering going around, but just wild. The stuff that's going on right now. Just utterly wild. I think that Elon is doing a fantastic job. Oh, I saw on Benny this morning, Act Blue is in trouble. All um, the seven leaders of Act Blue all resigned over the weekend. Yeah, um, Act Blue has been getting millions and millions of dollars from USAID, and they USAID was funneling millions of dollars to NGOs, and the NGOs were giving money to campaigns, which is all illegal because the NGOs were taking the money to help poor, starving farmers in Africa or whatever, and the poor, starving farmers in Africa never got the money. They gave it to political campaigns. Well, the entire board, there's a 7-person board of Act Blue, resigned yesterday. They all resigned. They will get caught. They think they won't get caught, but they will get caught. They will get caught. It's all a matter of time. Right, it won't. And the thing about it is the 7 board members that all resigned were all the lawyers for Act Blue. So the lawyers all resigned. So now Act Blue is without lawyers. And then here's something interesting that happened that I read about this morning. The girl from the parole department, the attorney from the pardons board, rather, for the DOJ, she was fired yesterday. She was fired. And from what I read, it looks like she is going to be investigated because there were 8,870 something pardons issued by Joe Biden. And it looks like that they were signed digitally, which Biden is not capable of doing. So if it turns out that she is the one who signed the pardons, that means all the pardons are all invalid. Wow, that's pretty impressive that AI can follow the payments like that. But it's just craziness going on everywhere. Yeah, Lindy Lee said on a podcast yesterday that Jill Biden was running the country. Jill Biden and Biden's aides. She said Joe Biden was not mentally competent to be run the country from day one. Yeah, Lindy Lee said that yesterday. Lindy Lee said Jill was making the decisions and was giving it to these 3 staffers, not staffers, aides, to carry out. Right. The way Lindy Lee explained it, Biden would tell those 3 men what she wanted done, and then the 3 guys would go and carry it out. They would make the decision. but Jill would tell them what she wanted done. And if any of that's true, that's all illegal. All illegal. Lindy Lee is brave, very brave, very brave young lady there. You know, I pray for her every day because she said already on Sean Ryan's podcast, Sean Ryan rather, that every time she leaves her house, somebody throws rocks and bricks at her head and she gets, you know, right. She's walking a very thin rope, but she's naming names. She's going on podcasts and telling people the truth. And because she's telling people the truth, people are leaving the Democratic Party. At least she's connected with Nicole Shanahan, and her and Nicole are going to be working together to elect Republicans. And see, that's one thing that she said that Kamala's team did not understand. She said, my donors are not dem- Democrat no matter what. My donors want what is best for the country. And if I go to the Republican Party, my donors are coming with me. Um, I don't know how Lindy got so rich. You know, she lives in Philadelphia, deep blue Philadelphia. She may have to sell her place and move. She lives, from what she said, she lives in a small apartment. I know how Nicole Shanahan got rich. Nicole Shanahan got rich because she married the founder of Google, and then he filed for divorce, and she ended up getting a big chunk of money. She got millions and millions of dollars. Right. She paid for the Democrat funding parties, and she also, her donors donated hundreds of millions of dollars to um, Kamala. And then when she asked for an accounting of that money, to give to her donors, she was cussed out. She was called the C word. She was called the W word. That's that's disgraceful. And she said that she told them, "Hey, my donors have a right to know where their money is being spent." Right. She explained what happened. She said that when she was 3, that her grandfather spoke one word against the Chinese government, and they came and they killed the whole family. But somehow her dad had an inkling that something was going on. So her dad and mom and her all left for London. And while they were en route to London, their entire family was killed. And she said, "Do you know how disgusting it is to have the Democratic Party call me a Chinese spy when the Chinese killed my entire family practically?" She said, "I was told I was a Chinese spy." She said, "That's when I said enough is enough." Yeah, when she told Sean Ryan that, she was almost crying. Right. Everybody thinks that China is, this great melting pot. They're not. We're the great melting pot. We are the great melting pot. China, I I haven't seen reports lately, but I think China is going to fall. Right. Barely pays for a bowl of rice is right. Something else interesting is going on. There's a island south and west of Japan that we invaded during World War II, and we apparently made runways and stuff. And it was reported yesterday that our military is clearing up those runways on that island. That's all interesting. I find stuff like that interesting because already own the island. So these little hot peppers grow all over the island, and suddenly in the north west corner of the island where we used to have a base during World War II. They're clearing away the brush. They're fixing the runways. And I thought, how interesting. How interesting, right? That here we are, we own property that had a base on it during World War II, and we're clearing the runways. Um, no, I think that we are doing this as a show of force to China, saying, hey, look what we can do in your backyard. Because this island is halfway between Japan and the Philippines. Halfway between Japan and the Philippines. That would make us a nice base to help out Japan and help the Philippines and basically tell the Chinese, keep out, right? China did something interesting on Friday. They put 100% tariff on all goods made in Canada. Right. Trump doesn't play their game. Yeah. Apparently, China has been allowing goods from Canada to come in, with very little tariff. On Friday, they put a 100% tariff on all imports from Canada. Yeah. Trudeau, see, Trudeau shot himself in the foot because Trudeau has basically resigned and put the date of his resignation right before the next election. So he's not running for prime minister again. And I watched this one guy that's from Alberta, and he said that he's getting together a a group of Alberta lawmakers and businessmen, and they're going to go to Trump and offer Trump Alberta as the 51st state. He said, we in Alberta are tired of Montreal treating us like we're second class citizens, passing laws that will make our businesses obsolete in just a few years. Which that's really not smart. Yeah. See, Alberta has all the underground minerals. It has all the oil, which Montreal just passed a 20% carbon tax on every single thing that Canadians purchase. 20%. That's a lot. 20% carbon tax on top of all of their other taxes. And, I watched this other guy who said in Canada, the free healthcare isn't free because you're taxed on your wages. Like he said, it's his rate is 51% of what he makes goes towards healthcare. That's crazy. So that would be like me. I get a disability check from the VA for right about $3,000. So the the health care tax, if it was 51%, that would be half of my check. That would be $1,500. That's just insanity, right? Yeah, see, what you get, see, how they do it is they charge you 51% of what you make. So that would mean whatever amounts you make, half of your money would go towards this healthcare tax. So, like, let's say you make $1,500, just ballpark figure. That would mean that $750 would come out of your check to go towards their healthcare tax. And he said, if you make an appointment for your primary care doctor, 6 months. If your primary care doctor refers you to a specialist, a year to 2 years. I think that's insanity. I think it's absolutely insane to pay 50% of your check for health care, and then it takes you 6 months to get a appointment for a primary care doctor, and a year to 2 years after that if he refers you to a specialist. And they said in Canada, a primary care doctor is not allowed to order an MRI or a CAT scan. It has to be done by a specialist. Right. Just craziness. All around the world where I look, I see craziness. Right. See, I go to the VA, and at the VA, my primary care doctor can order a CAT scan, order an MRI. Wow. So you were promised the 3D imaging by your doctor and you never received it? Or did Kaiser turn it down? Well, I'm sorry that you've been fighting that, Julianne. I know dealing with health agencies sometimes is never easy. Well, I'm going to get off of here. I will see you same time tomorrow. Love you guys. Take care. Bye for now.